I was born in Herne Bay at a nursing home at the bottom of the Downs in January 1947 when apparently the sea was frozen out to the end of the pier. My family have lived in Herne Bay, bottom of Herne Hill. We had the downstairs of the house, and that was where I lived till I was about 7 or 8 with my sister who was 3 years younger than me. My first memories of my childhood are in the house at Herne Hill. I used to play sort of soldiers, cowboys, Indians, like them, setting up camps around the bottom of the table. Now, I was always much happier being outdoors, though, even at that age. I spent most of my life been spent on Herne Bay Beach as a child, and, well, I still like it, but we had a beach hut from then, really, because our original hut was badly damaged in the 1952 storm, so we had a hut, and I was taken on the beach from age 0, really. And my mum went down there an awful lot. She loved being on the beach, and there were Mrs. Hunt and Mrs. Noble in the hut next door, and there was quite a little sort of social gathering down there, and they all had children of a similar age, so we spent an awful lot of time playing on the beach or playing cricket behind the huts. I need to be outdoors, so as far as I was concerned, it was great. I mean, I could be outdoors all day long. I love it. Yeah, I swam. I mean, I'm self-taught, and my uncle, he was a very keen fisherman. I was never that keen on fishing. I didn't like putting the worms on the hooks. I was very bad at that. Beach hut was shared with my auntie's family, so my auntie, uncle and Peter, my cousin, and my mum and dad and Corin and I. And other members of the family used to come down in the summer, and the beach hut was a sort of focal point of the whole family, always has been. And there would be quite a crowd down there. We'd be down there in all weathers. Uncle had an outboard engine, because he was a very keen fisherman, so his outboard engine sat in one corner and all his old fishing gear sat in lockers. So it wasn't exactly just for swimming, it was a bit of a sort of a working hut. But we were happy as Larry down there, so we'd have a little cook. We still got a little cooker, and the hut is pretty much as it always has been. Yeah. In those days, the boat would be left in front of the hut. In fact, I'm not even sure that anybody used to bother to lock them up in those days. There was us. It was Mr. Warno next door. He had a boat. The Jimmy Lock had a boat. There'd be quite a few fishing boats just on the beach. There was a winch to the side of the hut. In fact, there was a hut next door, and then there was a gap, which has vanished now, as all these gaps have been filled in. But we had a winch sort of in front of that, so that it would sort of wind it up with a wire. And we'd have meals down there, mostly sort of tea. You know, my mum would take down bread and jam, etc. I mean, we did at times go shrimping. There seemed to be an awful lot more shrimps around, because I can remember going shrimping and coming back and cooking the shrimps and having them on the beach, which I don't think you'd manage now. I don't think there's enough shrimps out there. Dad was very keen shrimper, actually. He used to go shrimping quite a bit. But he used to go shrimping September, October, and he'd get a gallon of shrimp sometimes and cook them. I can remember cooking of shrimps. I can remember cooking lobsters and crabs. They would go crabbing occasionally as well, big punga crabs. We were always eating fish. My father used to go up on the end of Herne Bay pier at night. There'd be a little group of them fishing for bass. You always got bass off the end of the pier, and they would go up and fish around about midnight for a couple of hours, if the tide was right. And so I used to eat bass. My uncle Les had lobster pots, which he and my dad used to take out, and so we often had lobster. The Medway Queen used to go backwards and forwards between the end of the pier and South End pier on a day trip, and that was always a marker for, I think, for most young people in Herne Bay, that when the Medway Queen was coming back in, it was time for tea. You could walk up the pier and there would be fishermen all up it, and there were the two shelters. They were good sort of vantage spots, because you get a bit of, if the weather turned a bit nasty, and the ice cream parlour and tea rooms at the end. And there used to be a little amusement arcade at the beginning. There were a variety of shows on the pier, but I didn't go to them because I would have been too young, and my parents didn't go. Where the trampolines are was a Punch and Judy show. Well, the thing that's always stuck in my mind, it sounds horrific now, but you've got to remember it was steam trains then, is that we used to go up to the bridge over the road where the tip is now, and we used to get up on the railway line and put pennies on the line, and then we would get back down off the line and wait for a train to come over. And of course, once the train had run over it, it would flatten the penny, and sometimes they must have almost quadrupled in size, I should think. But we'd get back up onto the track once they'd gone by and fly them. They'd often fly off. But we used to think that was great fun. And I didn't actually think there was any danger, because the steam train itself is not a dangerous thing, because there was no electricity in the line, and provided you weren't around on the line when the train went by, it's perfectly safe.